What's up guys, welcome back to a new video. After you have asked me for about 100,000 times to do a video on how to install Kali Linux next to Windows 10 in dual boot, I'm finally going to tackle it and I'm going to create a complete step-by-step video on how to do that. So what you need is, you need a USB stick, you need a laptop, and you need about half an hour of your time. Now be aware, and I want to give this as a disclaimer before starting with the tutorial, even if you follow this tutorial, there is a chance that you will mess up your existing Windows 10 installation. Only do this if you really know what you are doing, and make sure to back up your files on your Windows 10 computer before attempting this. There is always something that could go wrong or something that differs from your configuration compared to mine that could potentially mess up your system. So make sure you have all files backed up before you are going to follow this tutorial. So for this video I have set my laptop's BIOS mode to UEFI. And I will create a separate video for legacy BIOS, so if you want to do this with legacy BIOS you have to be patient, but the video will come up as well. So the first thing we need to do is download Kali Linux, and for that just go to kali.org/downloads and download the Kali Linux 64-bit version right here. Just click on it and the download starts. I already went ahead and downloaded that in advance. And of course, if you use a 32-bit laptop, you need to use the 32-bit version, but that's for yourself to find out which version you have. But most likely, if you have a modern machine, it will be a 64-bit capable machine. Alright, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to download Rufus. You can go to rufus.ie, and this is a tool that allows us to create a bootable USB drive, so we are able to write the Kali image onto a USB drive. And I have it in German here, probably it's an automatic localization, but just scroll down to download and download Rufus 3.8. And once you have done that, you can go ahead and just simply double click on Rufus 3.8.exe on your from your downloads folder, and Rufus will start. You don't even need to install it or anything, which is pretty convenient. Then click on select in Rufus. Make sure your USB drive, your USB flash drive is plugged into the computer, and then select the Kali ISO file from here. Click on open. And also make sure that your USB drive is selected here. As you can see, I have a 16 GB USB drive plugged into my computer right now, and it shows up here. Just make 100% sure you select the correct USB drive, because everything on the USB drive will be deleted when you do this procedure. Okay, next we are simply going to click on start. If you get a message here that a newer version of SysLinux is available and if you want to download it, click on yes. It's a yellow error message or a notification message. And the next thing we want to do is we want to click right in the image mode. This is crucial to install Kali Linux on a physical laptop, because otherwise you will not be able to mount the image file on your computer. Click on OK. And another warning that everything will be deleted on the device. If that's okay for you, just click on OK, and the process is starting. We'll be right back once the writing of the image is done. Okay guys, I'm going to show you this as close to real world as possible. That's why I'm filming my laptop right now, because I really want to show you how it's done. So you can see this is a pretty vanilla Windows 10 installation. I just installed Windows 10 actually for that purpose. And what you want to do next is you want to hit start or press the Windows key, and you want to type partition in there in the search field. That's the easiest way. And then already it shows up here, create in format hard disk partitions. You can also go there via the control panel, of course, but this is an easier way on how to open it up. And as you can see, there is a pretty default UEFI Windows 10 installation with a recovery partition and a main partition, and we need to do something, which is basically we are borrowing a few gigabytes from this huge main partition here, from the main portion of our hard drive, so we can install Kali Linux on it and leave our Windows 10 installation untouched. So you want to go ahead and select the partition there, and you want to right click it and you want to click on shrink volume. And now, depending on how much space you want to allocate to Kali Linux, you have to put the number in megabytes in there. So for my example, I'm going to use 30 gigabytes, which would translate to 30,000 megabytes approximately. So that's what I want for my Kali. You can of course adjust that as much as you want. I recommend a minimum of 20 gigabytes or something like that. Everything else doesn't make much sense. So click on shrink, and then you should see that a portion of this is being transferred here to the right side of the screen. And we have 29.3 gigabytes available now, unallocated. That's what we need. Alright, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to reboot and check that we can boot from our USB drive. So the writing of the Kali image on the USB drive has just finished, and I have the USB drive right here, and I'm going to plug it into my computer on the side, onto the USB port. Alright, then next we want to go ahead and restart the machine, and we want to open up the boot menu. So I just go ahead and I'm going to simply restart my computer. Now I have a Lenovo notebook, and for me it's just spamming the F12 key on the keyboard to open up the boot menu, as you can see, and it should pop up in a second. Eventually, yeah, there it is. And don't be confused about those other entries. You probably will only have Windows Boot Manager here, but I also have there Manjaro and Kali Linux because I experimented a little bit before this video. And for me it's to get in the BIOS menu to check if we are really running on UEFI. If you want to do that, you go into the setup and you go to startup, and as you can see I have it set to UEFI only. So to get into the BIOS depends on your laptop and also the boot screen. You simply can find it out by googling your laptop model plus boot menu or BIOS setup, and then usually an article shows up and tells you which button you need to press. Also, while you're restarting the computer or while it's booting up, in the beginning there is written which button you need to press to get into setup or to get into the boot menu. Usually it's written there very shortly though. Alright, so now that we have that in check, that we are running actually on UEFI, then we are going ahead and we're going to boot from our USB hard drive that you can see here. And this is my USB flash drive where the Kali image is on. Alright, let's try. And the Kali installation or the Kali installer comes up, and what you want to do is you want to click on Start Installer. And a couple of seconds later we are there. And for me, on this particular notebook model, the touchpad is not working during the setup, so I have to use the track point, and this will be a little bit of a hassle for me, but I'll try. And click on Continue after choosing a language. Then you can select your location if you want to. Click on Next, Continue, and select a key map that you prefer. I prefer the German key map, so I'm gonna choose that right here. Where are we? We are there. German. There we go. Continue. And now if you have made a mistake while writing the image and you have select image mode instead of the image mode while creating the image with Rufus, you will get an error message here that the CD cannot be mounted. If that happens, then just go back to the beginning of the video and run over this process again and make sure to this time select the image mode. Okay, now it's detecting the network hardware, which it will try to establish a internet connection. So I don't have anything connected right now, and I don't want to at this moment. What you usually want to do when you install it, you want to choose wireless, or you plug a cable in, of course. But if you choose wireless and you click on continue, on the next step you will be able to select your Wi-Fi network and connect to it, so Kali can download updates while installing, which I recommend. I'm not going to do it for this video because I don't want to expose my Wi-Fi networks and the networks of my neighbors, and that's why I'm choosing not to do that right now. So I'm choosing ETH0, and it will try again to get the link on ETH0, which it will not. and then it will finally give me the option to skip network configuration for now. You can also choose to do that, of course. Takes a couple of seconds. And don't forget, guys, if this video was helpful or is helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up and also make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. There we go. Auto configuration failed as expected. Click continue and then click do not configure the network at this time and continue. Alright, then you want to choose a host name. I just leave it on Kali. You can name your machine whatever you want. Continue. Then we need to set a password. I'm going to choose Tor as a password. It's the default Kali password, which means root backwards. And I should type it correctly at least. Tor. There we go. Choose a safer password in your case, obviously. Continue. Then you can configure the clock, which should happen automatically if you are connected to a Wi-Fi network. I'll just leave it on default because I don't care. And now we come to the important part, which is the partitioning of our hard drives. Now this part is very important and you don't want to mess that up. So usually we could do guided use the largest continuous free space. I tried that before, and what it did was it basically split my 30 gigabytes into half, and it made the swap file 15 gigabytes big, which is a little bit too much for my use, and I think even for default use it's too large, and therefore I'm going to choose manual and I'm going to manually partition it. So I'll get back to that in a second. Just follow along, click on continue. And then we have the choice of all of our partitions. And now you need to be really careful to not choose anything from your existing data. You can see that there is a Microsoft partition. This is our Windows install, basically. You can see it here, the huge amount of gigabytes. That's where we subtracted our 30 gigabytes from. And you can see here that it says free space. And this is the space we want to continue with. Okay, click on next. Then we want to create a new partition. If you choose the second one, automatically partition the free space, then it will also split it up. At least in my case, that's where it made the 50-50 split, which I don't want. So I want to create a new partition. And now I'll leave a link in the description below where are the recommended swap file sizes. And it's according to how much gigabytes of RAM you have in your computer. I have 16 gigabyte of RAM, and therefore the recommended swap file size for Linux is 4 gigabyte. If you have 8 gigabytes, it would be 2 gigabyte. If you would have 4 gigabyte, it would be 1 gigabyte. Alright, I'll leave that in the description below as well. Then click on next, that should be fine. Then we want to choose beginning. And we want to name it swap. Continue. Okay, that looks all good. What else do we need? None here. Click on next. Oh, we actually need to scroll down and select done setting up the partition. Click on continue. And then we have our swap here. Then we want to do the same thing to create a new partition again with the remaining 27.5 gigabytes of free space. I forgot one thing that we need to do here is set the partition type to swap as well. So just go ahead and select the partition again, the swap partition, double click it and scroll all the way to the top. And you don't want ext4 as a system. We double click that as well. And right here we are going to select swap area. That's what we need to do. Click on continue. And then again to continue, and then it should be fine. Actually, once again, done setting up the partition. I'm getting confused using the trackpad here. I'm not used to that. That throws me off a little bit. Okay, so now we can finally assign the remaining free space. So we click on that We click on continue, and here it's a little bit easier. We can do automatically partition the free space, which should be fine. Let's click on continue, and we want all files in one partition as well. That's right. Click next, and now the partitioning should tell us that everything is fine. Actually, let's double check again. Need to go up a little bit here. This menu has no scroll bar. And yeah, we can see that 27.5 gigabytes are free space in ext4. That means this is going to be our Kali partition. So we have 27.5 gigabytes of free space. Now let's see. Go all the way to the bottom with the arrow keys, in case you have no scroll bar as well like me. And select finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Click on continue and then select write changes to disk. Yes. There we go. Alright, now Kali is installing the system, and I'll pause the video here and we'll be back soon as the writing of the system files is done. Okay, the writing to the disk just finished, and now we get asked if we want to use a network mirror, and if you have connected your computer to a network, then you want to select yes, so Kali will be able to update while it's installing. Let's see where that takes us. I usually also select yes, because I usually am connected to a network while I install Kali. Not this time. Probably now recognizes that it does not have a connection, and it's continuing to installing Group. Group is our bootloader, so from now on when you start your laptop you will be presented with Group, which is the Unix bootloader. So this is the place where you basically select if you want to boot up Windows or if you want to boot up Kali Linux or any other Linux that you have installed on your system. It's wrapping up the installation now. That takes a couple of more seconds. I'm gonna pause the video for a moment, and once it's time to restart and check if everything's working, we'll be back. Okay, there we go. It just restarted automatically after pressing one more time continue and removing the last installation packages. And now you can see we are in Group. If you missed to press the up or down key, usually Group automatically boots after like 10 seconds or something the first option that is selected, which is Kali Linux. So you can see there is Kali Linux right there, and then there is Windows Boot Manager, which is our Windows. We're first gonna test if Kali Linux is working. Let's see if that comes up. The moment of truth, but I think it will work. It should work. I'm mostly using Kali in VirtualBox myself, or I dedicate a complete machine to it, so I'm not really dabbling with dual booting too much. And I haven't done it in a while, but I think it'll work. So we log in with root and with whatever the password is that you have set. So root is the username, the default username. And if you don't know where to go from here after installing Kali Linux, I highly recommend you reading my top things to do after installing Kali Linux article, which I will link in the upper right corner of the video right here. You can check it out. I think I also have a video there. I might link the video as well. Okay, so Kali is obviously working. Let's check our disk partitioning if that worked out for us. So it's df-h to check our partitions, and that looks perfectly fine to me. We can also go ahead and open the disk manager, or whatever it's called, disks tool. Usually don't use that either. And we can see that we have 27 point something gigabytes here with 18 gigabytes of free space. So Kali took up about 10 gigabytes, and yeah, that's worked out as we wanted. Okay, we can close that, and now another moment of truth. Let's see if Windows is still working. We're gonna restart it here, and as I said, from now on it will always go back to the Group Boot Manager. So per default Kali is booted automatically, and you can see there was a time running, so it's 5 seconds actually. And now we're gonna select Windows Boot Manager and see if Windows is still functional, which it should be if I did everything correct. And there is also an option that, like, if you want to change the Group bootloader order so that Windows gets booted automatically while you booting up your laptop, there is a method to change the boot order. I think there is a tool existing that allows you to configure the group bootloader, so you can just go and Google that for now. Maybe I'll create a video on that later on as well. You can see Windows is indeed still working, so both of the systems are working. Let's check our hard drive here, and yeah, that's the USB drive. We can unplug that. And by the way, if you don't know how to format your USB drive, I'll also link a video up here, or an article, I'm not sure, but I'll got you covered how to restore your USB drive after using the Kali image, because you cannot just format it, you have to use Rufus actually to reformat it. Alright, so but we can see here that this is the rest of our hard drive, and it's all perfectly fine and perfectly working. So I think that proves the point. The how to install Kali Linux and Windows 10 in dual boot is working. Alright guys, there you have it. That's how to install Kali Linux next to Windows 10 on a dual boot configuration. You can see the process was pretty straightforward. You can use the same method to install Parrot OS, for example. If you want a separate video on this, I will be happy to deliver. Just leave a comment below. And also, if you need a separate video on how to do this exact same thing on a legacy Windows install, which I think you shouldn't need nowadays, because most half modern systems are already UEFI capable, and that's the good thing to do anyway, it's more secure. So alright guys, that's it for this video. If you like this video, you know what to do, give it a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to my channel so I'm able to produce more content like this in the future, and I'd be happy to see you back on my channel in one of the next videos. Thanks for watching guys, and see you in the next one. Bye.